Welcome to Traffic Keys. I am Atiba. I'm glad that you are here. If you are a business owner who is running an online business, or maybe you've run a traditional brick and mortar business and you're now transitioning to online because of what has happened in the pandemic, and either way, you're trying to get more traffic, more eyeballs, more customers to your website. I'm here to help you learn how to do that organically. Yep, that's what we're going to do here at Traffic Keys. I'm here to help teach you some of the principles that I have learned over, honestly, the last 15 years of doing this for other brands. Okay, so today we're going to dive into. I mean, if you read the headline for this, if you're listening to this because you saw the headline, you're probably thinking I'm crazy. How do we get every single lead to say yes? What if we could live in a world where every single lead said yes? Now, before I dive too far in, let me define what I mean by a lead, okay? A lead is someone who has come across your product or your service, come across your business, and they're going to raise their hand and say, yes, please, me. So they've not made a sale yet. Okay. They haven't purchased yet, but they know that they need your product and service and that they need to buy your product and service. So, because, there's some people who need your product and service, but they don't want to buy it, right? So we're looking at people who need your product and service, who know they need to buy it, and that you want to work with, because that's also part of a lead and lead definition. Because let's be honest, there are some customers that you wish you can give them back their money because there was such a headache. You don't want them around, excuse me, anymore. Okay, so that's a lead. A lead is someone who is raising their hand because they know they need your product and service. They know they need it. They are willing to pay for it, and you want to work with them. How do we make all of them say yes? How? How do we get all of them to say yes? That's what we're here to talk about today on Traffic Keys. And the answer is very simple. It's very, very simple. It's one word. This is the one word that's standing in between you creating those leads and getting them all to say yes. And that word is persona. Now, for some of you, this may be the first time you ever heard the word persona. If you've been, depending on your background, you may have heard the word persona before, but I want to give you a definition. And I'm going to read this for you here. This definition comes from interactiondesign.org. Okay. Personas are fictional characters, which you create based on your research in order to present the different user types that might use your service, product, website, or brand in a similar way. Creating personas will help you to understand your users' needs, experiences, behaviors, and goals. That's what a persona is. They're fictional characters. But here's what we're doing. So we are creating personas that represent groups of people that are your ideal customer. Groups of people that are your ideal customer. Now, by creating these groups of people that are your ideal customer, and if you've heard me talk about ideal customers before, you know my big thing is be obsessed or be average. You must be obsessed about your customer and who they are. And a persona, creating personas, are one way that you get to be obsessed. Is one of the tools that you use, is a better way to say it, that you can use in being obsessed. This is what the bigger brands do. They create these personas because what they're looking for Okay, guys, follow me on this. What they're looking for is we want to figure out who this person is, who these groups of people are. We're going to group them all into a persona and say, these are our ideal customers. Now, you may have one, you may have three. That's not three. This is three. Forgot how to use my fingers. You may have three, you may have four, you may have six. Honestly, for most of you, you probably are going to be somewhere between 2 to 4 ideal customers, two to four personas that you're going to make. Now, I'm not just talking about demographics. Anybody can do a demographic study. That's not what we're talking about. Okay. Personas are not demographics. Demographics are a subset of a persona. So what am I talking about then with the demographics? I'm talking about age, location, sex, etc., etc. Any of those types of things that are all demographics, and they are important. So personas marry the demographics and the psychographics of your audience. And they answer this fundamental question. If I know that this is the demographic and these are the psychographics, which we'll describe in a minute, then how does this group of people with this demographic and these psychographics react to my product and service, to my marketing? That is the beauty of persona. Now, let's step back and talk about what psychographics are. So psychographics, what we're talking about are in psychographics is, who are they actually? Tell me something about who they are. So beyond just the fact that they're executives, okay, great. They may be executives, right? But are they executives who are living high stress lives because they're having a hard time balancing being executive and family life? Are they executives because they have all of this pressure because of all these people working for them? Are they executives who all play golf? Are they executives who have other psychographic things, or things that make up your personality? Okay, right? Even down to psychological tests. Are they type A? Are these the people who are straight go-getters? Is that who is in this persona? So your persona, guys, again, is marrying your demographics and your psychographics, really understanding who this person is and what their motivations are. Why are they motivated to do the things that they do? What causes them to move, to act, to purchase, to feel? You marry those two together. Once we've married those two together, then we start to ask the question, how do they interact with my product or service? So let me give you an example. So let's say we are marketing. What can we market? Okay, here we go. Aquariums, and let's say it's a pet store. Okay, let's say it's a pet store. Now, in my personas for my pet store, I may create a persona that is, get this, that is a 14-year-old female. I am making this up, okay? I may create a persona that's a 14-year-old female who wants to get into the hobby of fish keeping. Great. Now, that 14-year-old who wants to get into the hobby of fish keeping, why does she want to get into the hobby of fish keeping? So the 14-year-old, that's the demographics. And we can go way further with the demographics. But now, why does she want to? Why is this important to her? We start to get into some of the psychographics of who she is. Okay, so we know she's female, and we know that she wants to get into fish keeping because she's 14 and the nurturing side of her is starting to come out. I'm just making this up, right? And so she wants something to take care of, and her parents have told her they don't want an animal that's going to run around. It needs to be contained. And so she is trying to find something that will fulfill her internal desire to nurture versus the 14-year-old boy. The 14-year-old boy who also wants a fish tank, he now wants a fish tank because he was watching Animal Planet and saw piranha tear stuff apart, and he now wants something that will be vicious. Okay? So, 14-year-old boy, he has different psychographics. Right? Right there, we have two distinct different personas, because if we say to the 14-year-old boy, hey, come to the pet store and get an aquarium, tell your parents get you an aquarium, and it's going to be loving and wonderful, and you get to nurture it and take care of it and look at all the fancy little plants and the decorations, he doesn't care. The girl does. And if we tell her, hey, come, we've got these piranha and feeder fish, and there's going to be blood, guts, and gore, she's in it for nurturing. She doesn't care. Those are two completely different personas. They're going to react to your product differently and to your marketing differently. And you're probably thinking, duh, that makes sense. One's a boy, one's a girl. So let's go a little bit further. Let's now say there's a 14-year-old girl who, like my daughter, for example. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and she wants to get into fish care because her dad does it. And it's something for her to do with her dad. She actually doesn't want to take care of the aquarium. She doesn't. Okay? We set up tanks and I take care of them, and she watches me do it. But it's her opportunity to do an activity with her dad that she wants to do. Now, if we talk to her, she may respond well to the nurturing stuff we're talking about the decor and so on and so forth in the aquarium. She may respond to that. But when we start to understand her psychographics, 14-year-old girl, now we're talking about building relationship with her dad. Now, we're not going to say it in that way to her because she's not going to understand. But we have to know that that is our customer, and that's what's driving them. That is the beauty of personas, because once we start to understand that we are creating a product or creating an offer, which we'll talk about later in another video, once we're creating offers that solve problems, what are the problems my persona is having? Now, when you have your marketing and you target 14-year-old girls whose dads also have fish tanks or have been in the fish trade, fish care business, not business, but hobby, right? Whose dads have been there and they're looking to spend more time with them, that can be an entire persona, and we can dedicate marketing and we can dedicate resources to finding them and speaking directly to them. Because guess what? If we find them and speak directly to them, they're going to say yes, because nobody else is. Everyone, I got a pet store, come buy a fish. But when we know that our leads fall into buckets of personas, and we figure out exactly how to talk to them, to that persona, to their demographics, to their psychographics, and how they're going to react to how we're talking to them, that, my friends, is how we get them to say yes. That's how we get leads to say yes all the time. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, that all sounds great. Couple things. One, there is a tool that's in the description. HubSpot put out a free tool. It's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not at all saying that this is perfect, but it's a start. If you've never done personas before, take the time and go through HubSpot's free tool that actually helps you start to think about personas and to create your first persona. Within our agency, clients who hire me to do personas usually spend anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 to define personas. So it's not an easy exercise. Okay, it's not. And I'm not trying to pretend like it is, because obviously If you can master it, then you would master communication with your customer, which also means you'll master making sales, which is what everybody's goal is, which is why it's not an easy exercise. But your goal is to start today, and that HubSpot tool will get you started. Okay, it's a free tool, and as we go on over months, I'll introduce new tools, and that will take you a little bit more and more in depth to help you start to understand. And we'll break down this framework because it is Framework Friday, and personas are one of my frameworks that we use here in Traffic Keys. Okay, and so yeah, so take that tool, start the process, and I will continue teaching you stuff over the next few months with personas. So start there, and now let me tell you why. So I have a client who fought me and didn't really want to do personas. And I said, hey, we're not going to work together if we don't do personas. And we did them. And we launched a specific offer targeted to a specific persona. And we went out and found that persona and drove that persona to that specific offer. Now, get this, guys. Conversion rate, 80%. 80% of the traffic that we drove to that offer converted. You find me somewhere else. You find me anywhere else that you can get an 80% conversion rate. That's unheard of. But that's what happens. That is exactly what happens when you know your persona and you speak directly to them. You turn leads into sales. You turn leads into customers. And it happens over and over and over again. And on top of that, they thank you for it and they love you for it because no one else is talking to them in that way. So this is not an easy exercise. And personas are an ongoing task. Okay, let me just be honest with you. Let me go back to the definition, and this will explain why. Hold on, let me see if my mouse doesn't want to work now. I'm going back to my definition here. Personas are fictional characters. So we're creating a character which are based upon research. So that HubSpot tool is going to start you on the process of doing the research. Every time you meet customers and you're working with them, you're going to learn more and more and more about your ideal customers and where they fit in personas. And you'll also learn about the ones you don't like too, right? And you'll start to define these personas. It is an ongoing activity for the rest of your business life. That's why I'm telling you to start today. Okay? You got to start somewhere, and we keep growing and understanding our personas better and who these people are better so we can talk to them more intelligently and more directly. All right. So, guys, that's it for today on Framework Friday, talking about personas. Check that tool from HubSpot. It's in the description, as I said. Go ahead and fill that out. And full disclosure, I am not a HubSpot affiliate, so I get nothing for you going through and filling that out. That's a free tool that they offer. If you don't know HubSpot, they're a CRM for more medium-sized businesses than small businesses, but they offer these free tools to kind of walk you through. Anyway, go do that. It's Friday, Framework Friday. I hope you learned something today. If you did, drop me a comment. I know I should have said this earlier, but drop me a comment. If you've got a question, definitely head over to the Traffic Keys Facebook group, okay, and ask your question over there. Would love to hear what your questions are, because that's the point here is we want to get your questions and answer them and help you to move. All right. Again, this is Atiba. I will see you tomorrow.